Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 6 of the $20 or Less podcast. We're recording live on March 1st. How is it March already? And I'm your host, JD, aka Gaddock Teeg, and with me today is my co-host, Cosmic Engine. How you doing today, Cosmic?
I've been sick all week.
Yeah?
Like, non-stop.
I feel like we should rename this the Sickness Podcast, because it sounds like we're just constantly sick. So what have you been playing this week? What's been going on in the gaming world?
When I've dragged myself out of bed, I've been playing an early access game. I'm doing an early access examination of Victor Vran, which is like an indie action RPG. It's top down, kind of like Diablo style, but more on the action side. There's less abilities and more just like kind of dodging and moving around the map. You can jump. You can even double jump on, like, you can jump onto it like the side of a wall and then jump off the wall to go higher onto different platforms and stuff. So it's pretty early, like it's in alpha, and there's not much to the game. Like there's no story element at all. Like you go to get your first quest and it just says, we don't want to spoil the story for you, but the starter areas are open to go.
So they will have a story though.
They'll have one, but at the moment they're just showing off the kind of the gameplay, and it's actually pretty fun. Like I was quite surprised because I don't really action RPGs are kind of hit and miss with me.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's actually pretty fun because Victor Van, you're basically playing like a Van Helsing type character, where you kind of like you're a vampire hunter, monster hunter, whatever. And you have, like, you can use a variety of weapons, both ranged and melee, so you can have a sword and a shotgun and stuff like that, and it's actually pretty fun. I quite enjoy it so far. Yeah,
that sounds pretty interesting. Maybe I'll check that one out. So what's the timeline? Do you know? Have they said when they plan on releasing? What's their...
I haven't checked on what they're releasing. Usually it's about 6 months, something like that. Most developers say it's kind of the norm to be about 6 months, but whether it actually takes 6 months.
Right, yeah, it's really interesting. Like now we're getting even more and more of these early access games, and it'll be interesting to see how the timeline for a lot of these games, if they all seem to line up with similar schedules, or if we never see most of them ever see the light of day. But so yeah, I have been playing not much this week. I've been very busy. My gaming has been limited to games of threes in the subway to and from work, but Threes is one hell of a game. I was very late to the bandwagon, but it feels so good when you do well, and it's so simple and so quick, and you get 4 or 5 games in on a subway ride to work. It's great. Have you ever played Threes? No?
No, I don't play much.
No, 2048. No, nothing. I think it works really well because I was listening to a developer speak about development earlier this week, and he was saying that it's important for games to have a certain amount of luck for many reasons, but one of them is if a player can blame their losses on luck and their wins on like personal how well you did, it's good for your game, because then players don't feel as bad. Like they don't feel like they're a bad player. They just can blame it on luck and explain their losses away, and their victories they can just congratulate themselves on how good they did. And I think 2048 does a good job of doing that for the player. It's interesting. You should check it out. It's good if you're sick and in bedridden all week for sure.
Cool.
But let's get into some news. Luckily, I didn't have much news this week, but you came in earlier today and put in a whole bunch of stuff. So let's get into this. First, let's start off with the sad news: the passing of Leonard Nimoy, nerd king or prince at least. He passed this week. He was 83 years old, and he was one hell of a guy. He was definitely something that we should all look up to. He was a good guy, and there's not much to say. I'm not even a Star Trek fan, but I think all nerds know that Leonard Nimoy was great.
Not a Star Trek fan.
And I enjoy Star Trek. I've watched many episodes of Star Trek and have enjoyed most of them, but I wouldn't say I'm a Star Trek fan. I haven't watched the entire series. I haven't watched Deep Space Nine. So there's lots of things I haven't watched in the Star Trek realm, so I'm not going to call myself a Star Trek fan. Star Wars. There's just 3 movies for Star Wars versus 3,000 episodes of Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek's great. I love Star Trek.
Star Trek is great. I love the idea of Star Trek. The world that they have built in Star Trek is just so comprehensive and amazing that I know I should like it more, and if I had more time, I would sit down and watch every episode, I'm sure, and love it, and really be a Star Trek fan. But
I don't like the new films, mind you. The reboots.
I didn't mind the new films. I have watched all the films. The films, very good films.
No, I like. The only reason I like the new films is I just pretend that it's not Star Trek.
Yeah.
If I pretend that it's not Star Trek, then I can enjoy them. But as soon as it's just it's more like Star Wars, that film, especially like it was in the second one, Into Darkness, where they have that chase fight scene on top of hover cars. I was just like, that just kind of reminds me of Attack of the Clones a little bit there. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
There's just a twinge of Star Wars in there, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about Star Trek as a TV show was that like you had episodes where not a shot got fired.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had literally like just episodes after episodes of just talking.
Yeah.
And diplomacy, and that's what made Star Trek great. Not just like let's have lots of special effects and blow things up.
Right, and I do appreciate how Star Trek always seems to explain everything. They go into detail on every little minutia of the ship, like where each bay is in the ship, where each room in the ship is, how like the anti-gravity works, and how all of the sciencey things in Star Trek. I do enjoy that they do that, but I just feel like in a film they can't really go and do that. Which
they do, like the Next Generation films were just awesome. I loved the Next Generation films with Patrick Stewart and all that, but like the new one, the reboots are just no.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Well, it'll be nice when he releases a Star Wars film, which seems like he wants to direct so much. So
yeah, that looks it.
No, you're not excited for that either?
No. I'm not excited for the 9-pronged saber.
All right, I'll admit that's a little ridiculous, but you sound like an old curmudgeon there. None of this new stuff is any good. The old stuff was so much better.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yes, Leonard Nimoy, great guy. Rest in peace. So let's go to happier news here. So are you a fan of Rock Band or Guitar Hero? Do you have any plastic instruments lying around somewhere that you could break out if you were able to?
Back when Guitar Hero first came out, I got Guitar Hero. I liked Guitar Hero. Like, it was a bit of fun. And I'm ashamed to say that in private, I kind of sat there and played like hours and hours trying to get the hardest difficulty. And do you know what I did have? I had DJ Hero. That's what I had. I had the decks, the DJ Hero, which I don't.
Oh yeah, those were cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I quite enjoyed that. But I'm not like a massive fan. But it's not too bad.
Yeah, so it seems like the creators of both Rock Band and Guitar Hero, Harmonix, and who does Guitar Hero? I was not a big Guitar Hero guy. Whatever. It seems like both of the developers are hinting at a possible return of the two IPs, both Rock Band and Guitar Hero. On this GameSpot interview that you can see linked in the show notes, they interview a couple of industry experts, Michael Pachter being one of them, about the viability of a return of the plastic instruments, and they both seem pretty positive, and they both think that now is the time.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that? Do you think people are ready for another?
Yeah, I don't
Rock
see
Band,
why
Guitar Hero?
not. The problem is with Guitar Hero and Rock Band, what they did, they oversaturated the market really quickly. Like in the space of like 4 years, they brought out a new Guitar Hero game every year, and each one had a new guitar, and it was getting a bit silly to the point of where it was becoming really expensive for people.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, well, you've got Rock Band, you've got Guitar Hero 7, whatever. Yeah. And then it was like, well, do you need any more? Is there a point where, because it was the same thing over and over, like Guitar Hero was bringing out a new game, and it was the same thing, it was just different songs, right? It was the exact same. They weren't making any massive changes in terms of the mechanics or anything like that. Rock Band was great because what Rock Band did is they looked at Guitar Hero and went, well, Guitar Hero's focusing on guitar, so what we'll do is we'll bring in other instruments like singing and, you know, drums and everything like that, so we can get the whole, you know, if you have friends around, you can get everyone involved. But again, they didn't really, after they brought the initial one out, they didn't really push it anymore. And, you know, Rock Band still receives like regular updates and new songs and everything like that, so that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But now that we've had a couple of years of Guitar Hero not bringing out their yearly release, I don't mind it coming back as long as they actually do something with it, like do something new, do something interesting, you know, like because it's fine, you know, for a bit of a laugh, but I would like to see, you know, do something like kind of cool with it more than just the straightforward get a guitar, play the game, do have some interesting modes or something like that.
Yeah.
Which would be fun.
I was a huge Rock Band fan. In college, I was a freshman when the first Rock Band came out. My roommate played drums, I sang, my friends played guitar. It was awesome. We were like top ranked for a little while in a couple songs, the band. And my Rock Band library is sitting in my parents' basement somewhere, and it's worth like $350. I spent so much money on Rock Band songs. And I feel like if Rock Band was going to come back, what would be important to me is basically when we deride certain games that come out and the developers are like, well, this is a service platform. That's looked down upon in most games, but I think that it works perfectly for Rock Band or Guitar Hero. I think
most games are service platforms now. This is like even, you know, other games like I mean, look at Call of Duty and Battlefield. They're service platforms now. I mean, they release DLC like there's no tomorrow. Like, I mean, this is why I don't play Call of Duty, because you buy the game, you buy the $60 game, and then in 2 weeks' time, you're not going to be able to play with half of the people because they've all got the new map pack and you haven't.
Right.
And it's like that they're becoming services now.
Yeah. Well, I think that they should be services in a way like Netflix or Spotify are services, where you pay a monthly fee for unlimited access to a library. I think that's what Guitar Hero and Rock Band really need. If they keep charging for every song, people get burned out. I think that's kind of what killed the Guitar Heroes and the Rock Bands, was people didn't want to just keep paying all this money for new songs every time a new song comes out. If they had this service platform where you pay, say, $15 a month, even if they made it free-to-play, if they had a free-to-play version of Rock Band, you just get the instruments and then you can play. I think that would work really well. I think players want to try all these new things that come out. I think Harmonix did a great job of continuing to update the game, like you said. Even now, they still release updates.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if they were to release at a free-to-play price point, get the instruments, and pay $15 a month, and you can play any song you want, that would go over really well with people. I think that's kind of what people want now. I think people are tired of paying for every song, every new song. Every time a cool song comes out, they have to pay $2 for it, $3 for it.
I don't know. I'm the other way. I think like putting a subscription on that kind of thing, I think that would put people off, especially because a big percentage of the Guitar Hero and Rock Band marketplace is for kids. Parents buy it for kids on Christmas, whatever. And I think that would put parents off massively from buying it.
Yeah, I could see that, but I could also see it where you don't have to pay a subscription. Maybe they have an a la carte method as well, where you can sub for a cheaper amount, or you can pay $20 and you get unlimited access for a short period of time.
And it's not just that. You've got to think about when do you play Guitar Hero? I mean, I would say most people play Guitar Hero as like a party thing, right? So you have people around, and you have, if you've got friends around, whatever, you whack it on for a bit of fun. I don't think Guitar Hero and Rock Band have ever been something that people play a lot of the time on their own. Mm-hmm. And so I don't see how people would be, like, I think putting a monthly subscription on it or something like that I think that would put a lot of people off, because they'd be like, well, I'm not going to play this enough to do that.
I also think there are certain innovations that they could do in terms of modes and things to make give the game a little bit more legs. I know they did release that song editor a while back. It didn't really catch on, I don't think, with many people. But I think it would be really cool if they had something maybe like a make your own music video mode where you can like use, well, I guess you can't really use a Kinect anymore because no one has a Kinect, but like whatever kind of webcam or something that you could put on there and you could put yourself into a music video. I think that would be interesting to see what people could do with that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, I think anything, Rock Band and Guitar Hero are the perfect party games, the perfect get together with your friends and just have a laugh, sing some songs really poorly, maybe have a couple drinks. It's the perfect game for that. And any modes that increase like the silliness or the fun or the more interactivity between people, I think that will only do well for Rock Band and Guitar Hero when they decide to re-release.
Yep, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we will, it seems. We will keep an eye out for Rock Band and Guitar Hero The Return. Next up, let's go into Telltale Games. So this week, Lionsgate Films, who are most known for the Hunger Games, they also did the Twilight series and a couple other really big movie series, more like in the teen genre. I think they also did the Saw movies a while ago, which is interesting to think about where they've come from there. But they have made a significant investment in Telltale Games, so that's the story-based point-and-click kind of the giants, really, of the point-and-click genre these days. They have the Walking Dead games, they did the Wolf Among Us, and several other games. Now they have the Tales of the Borderlands, Game of Thrones. They have so many different IPs going now. It's crazy that they're able to keep so many things afloat, so many plates spinning at once. What do you think about this investment from a film studio into Telltale Games?
Well, it's obviously they're trying to get their IPs into... Cause, I mean, Telltale's been massively successful with their format, even though I find it quite boring now. Because it doesn't matter if you put a Game of Thrones skin on it or a Tales of the Borderlands skin on it, it's still the same game, and it's kind of boring gameplay. But if in terms of story, storytelling, it's pretty fun to play through because they have really good stories in there. So it's obviously Lionsgate trying to get their IPs involved. I mean, people are saying that they might do a Hunger Games. I don't know if they will. It'd be interesting to see if they did, because I'd be interested to know what kind of storyline you'd put in that, being that it's pretty limited gameplay. So you'd have to do something like, you wouldn't be able to do the actual being in the games. You'd have to do something like being in the Capitol and like the political intrigue or whatever.
Right.
But it's like, I mean, Lionsgate do so many films. They do so many, and they do a lot of films that don't really particularly do well at the box office, but I really like, because I like bad films. So it's, I mean, yeah, that's basically what it is. It's Lionsgate just putting the groundwork in for maybe, their next IP films or whatever. And if they do previous films, I mean, I hope they don't do a Twilight one. That'd be god.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting, actually, to see if they decide to go into this young adult kind of Telltale style game, because I feel like that's the kind of game that would appeal to the average teenage girl. I think that they would enjoy the story. It's simple enough for them to play, and I think it would attract people who aren't necessarily gamers into a video game, which I think is a good thing for video games as a whole. It'll just be interesting to see if they kind of force Telltale into only doing games with this investment, if they're only doing like tie-in games and things like that, or if Telltale will continue to do the cool other things as well, The Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead.
Telltale will still do that. Like, it's just an investment. It's not like they're taking control. It's obviously Lionsgate way just saying, look, we want you to do games on our IPs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Telltale's actually gotten pretty good at this serialized model. They're releasing one episode of Game of Thrones every other month and one episode of Tales from the Borderlands every other month. So far, they've done well keeping to that schedule. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe this money helps them even speed up the schedule. They'll hire more people on and maybe get a third series going. And I think that episodic gaming is an interesting space. I think that they are in the proto stages of kind of refining what episodic gaming should be. It's definitely not a Half-Life situation of episodic gaming, which is a good thing. But it'll be interesting to see what this money does for Telltale, for sure. Next up on the news docket, Fable Legend. Oh, we're talking about Fable again. We're going to talk about Fable on every single episode of the show.
I've just got a vengeance against Peter.
This is going to be the Fable and Always Sick podcast from now on. Fable Legends is free to play, and just take the floor here, Cosmic. Go ahead. What do you got to say?
Yeah, well, I'm actually looking forward to Fable Legends. I like
what?
I like the idea of it, and Peter Molyneux's not involved, so it's even better. But like basically, they're going free to play, and they're doing kind of like a League of Legends model, where you basically everything's going to come from microtransactions, like new characters, skins, all that kind of thing. It doesn't surprise me that they've done this at all. I always thought that they would probably try and do something like this with Fable, so it'll be interesting to see how they implement the monetization, and whether or not they just stick to like a League of Legends kind of thing where it's just it's characters and skins, so that it's not necessarily pay to win.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they absolutely kit it out completely and they go, pay to win all the way.
Yeah. I mean that's always the question,
because it is Microsoft, so
things happens. And this is the one that's going to be cross-platform also, right? PC and
PC,
360?
Xbox One, and I'm looking forward to it because I like the idea of it's kind of it's multiplayer. It's kind of Dungeon Keeper-esque, where you've got the one person who's setting the traps and placing down enemies, and then you've got the team of heroes who are going to try and win it and whatever.
Yeah, well, if it's anything like that Dungeon Keeper remake on iOS, I'm sure it'll be rife with microtransactions and pay-to-win BS, for sure. It'll be interesting to see. I know that BioWare just closed down their 4 versus 1 multiplayer game, so it's interesting that Microsoft now is announcing that they are going with the free-to-play model with this game. The 4 versus 1 multiplayer, as we've discussed in the past, is definitely a trend right now in gaming, and it'll be interesting to see how people kind of situate themselves to stick out in that
I like
space.
that kind of. I like the asymmetrical gameplay where you're not equal. You've got each person has a different role, different abilities, and different strengths and weaknesses. I like that. I think that makes playing together fun because it's not like you're all the same and it's just whatever. You've got a specific role and purpose to do in a group.
Yeah.
But it's whether it's difficult to pull off correctly. That you've got to make sure that the gameplay and the mechanics are right.
Yeah.
To pull it off right, because Evolve's just come out and it's struggling in terms of its gameplay, because they've built it in a way that's made the game disjointed. And I'm actually wondering if Evolve will actually last.
Well, that's the interesting thing, I think, is that a lot of people are speculating now that Evolve maybe should have been free to play, and maybe that model would have suited the game better because they have all that DLC to begin with. So if they lower that barrier to entry, get more people in the game, more people to buy the DLC, and it's. I wonder if maybe this has something to do with that. Maybe Microsoft sees Evolve and how Evolve is doing, and thinks to themselves, hey, we can't charge people for this type of gameplay. We need to get them in and have them playing first so we can sell them DLC.
With Evolve, it's 2K, so it's going to be racked with DLC on day one anyway. That's what they do.
Yeah, well, it's as always interesting for sure. And the last bit of news we have in here is this study done by the Nielsen Group, concluding that people buy their PS4s for the graphics, their Xbox Ones for the brand name, and Wii U's for the fun factor. I think those are 3 very interesting conclusions that Nielsen has here. They list, if you go to the article in the show notes, you can see all the different things that consumers say they purchase their consoles for in a nice little list here, as well as, if you scroll to the bottom, they list the console ownership versus what console you had last generation and what you have this generation. You can see, most people that buy the PS4, they had a PS3, and most people that buy an Xbox One had an Xbox 360, and most people that buy Wii U's are crazy, but the Wii U is awesome. So we're all crazy, but we're all having a lot of fun playing our, one game every 3 months and a whole bunch of NES and SNES games. So what do you think about this? You threw this in there.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting. I mean what they asked gamers who are 13 years old and up, and they asked around like nearly 4,500 people, and it was interesting like the top 5 reasons that people gave for each console. Like the first for each was like you said for PS4 it was better resolution, better graphics. For Microsoft Xbox One, it was brand, which is interesting.
Yeah.
For Wii U, it was the fun factor, which is synonymous with Nintendo stuff. Like that's just the way it goes. Like no matter what you buy from Nintendo, people buy it for the fun. And then you kind of got the second reasons, which was for PS4, it was Blu-ray. For Microsoft, for Xbox One, it was innovative features, and I'm like, what? Innovative features. And then for Wii U, it was better for kids. The third was kind of interestingly enough. The third one was interesting for me because PS4 was game library, so that was like the digital download game library. Xbox One was faster processing power, and
which is hysterical.
and
knowing that the PS4 pretty much universally has the better processing power.
Yeah. And then for Wii U, it was the price and value, and it was interesting if you go down because again, like for the fourth reason, PS4 has faster processing power, Xbox One has exclusive games and content, Wii U has backwards compatibility, and it was just interesting to read through because it was like their fanboy responses, like
oh yeah,
when you're saying when someone if you're saying that the reason that you bought an Xbox One is faster processing power, then you haven't done your research.
Right.
That's that simple. And innovative features, where? Where? Like, if I was to buy a console right now, I would buy probably a Wii U because of the games that it's got on there. And if I was to buy, like, in a couple of years' time, I'd probably buy a PlayStation 4 because it's got a Blu-ray player, and I know that PlayStation always has a good, decent lineup a couple of years down the road. And it's just, like, it just shows you, like, I'm not a console gamer, but it's interesting to see how console gamers think,
right?
In terms of the reasons why they buy consoles, because it's strange to think that like you take an Xbox One that's like $400 to buy, right? Why not just save that money, right?
Yep.
And then save up another $400 and buy a really good gaming rig.
Yeah. Well, I think that these responses are an example of why people do that, because I just don't think people think about that, or they think in terms of brand loyalty and getting the best console and not necessarily getting the best thing to play the video games on.
Which is that's strange to me, brand loyalty, because before I owned a PC that was good enough to play video games on, I had consoles. And I went from PlayStation to the original PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2. And then I moved from PlayStation 2 to Xbox 360 because the 360 came out a lot sooner than the PS3 did. And if you actually look at the library of games the 360 ended up having compared to in terms of its lifespan than the PlayStation 3 did, the Xbox 360 absolutely won that battle hands over fist in terms of how many games it had on there, exclusive content, everything like that. It won hands over fist the 360 compared to the PlayStation 3. And then this console generation has just kind of been a bit weird because I'm like, there's not much difference between the PS4 to the Xbox One. They both don't have any games on there that are worth a damn. So I'm unsure on why anyone would kind of buy any of them right now.
Yeah, I mean, this whole console generation has been incredibly weird. It feels like these consoles came out 2 or 3 years ahead of when they should have, with the games lineups that these consoles have right now. It was last year, I remember everyone saying, "Oh, next year, it's the end of this year. No, next year is going to be the year all the good games come out." And now we're in next year, and I don't see any games on the horizon for these consoles. Like, what what's gonna sell people on these consoles this year? I don't know. Like, is there a Halo coming out maybe, or is that Uncharted game coming out? But other than that, like, what? Why are people buying these consoles?
Well, it was interesting because for my stepkids this year for Christmas, we got a PS3 instead of buying a new console.
Yeah,
because I'm like, there's a lot more games on a PS3.
Oh yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
Do that. If you're gonna buy a console, get a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360 and go play games on those.
Yeah, and as Swotor J says in the chat here, he says, as a PS4 owner, I will say that it's not about what games it has. It's how the PS4 is the hub of my whole entertainment system, which is, you know, I mean, that goes right to it. People are buying these things to be entertainment systems, not necessarily gaming rigs.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I can understand that, but
yeah, like if you're gonna put together, yeah, oh, me too. But well, that's funny. From where I was totally an Xbox kid. Like, and then I got a PC that could play video games, and I was like, what the hell was I thinking? But yeah, people are buying these things not just for gaming; they're buying it for other reasons. Blu-ray player. For a while, the PS3 was the cheapest Blu-ray player out there, and it played video games. So
I mean, but I don't buy DVDs or Blu-rays anymore at all. Like,
yeah, me neither.
I like basically, I mean, anything that I can't like in terms of the family room. For the big TV, for the kids, and for everything like that, I use a Roku. Like, I stream everything. Yeah. Like Netflix, Amazon Prime. Like, that's where we watch our things. Like, I don't have cable anymore. Roku
is the best investment I've made in a long time. That thing is amazing. Yeah, the amount of content you can get on there.
I don't watch normal TV anymore. Like, if you just watch Netflix and Amazon Prime, and then anything else that I want to do, I'll do it on the PC. Like, yeah, I don't need a hub of entertainment on my normal TV.
Yeah. Yep. So, interesting stuff. Go ahead and you can check out that survey in the show notes if you would like to read more about that. And that will move us into the game of the week. This week's game of the week under $20 is Oddworld New and Tasty. That is an old school platformer by Just Add Water Development Inc., published by Oddworld Inhabitants Inc. For $19.99, you can get it on Steam. You can go ahead and check out where to buy that in the show notes, and you can go ahead and check out the website of the game in the show notes. You suggested this game this week, so why don't you take the floor? Tell us about Oddworld New and Tasty.
I love Oddworld. Oddworld came out originally because this is a remake of the original Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. And that came out in, I think it was 97, something like that, on the original. Was it PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2? I think it was PlayStation 1.
I think it was PlayStation 1.
I loved that game so much. Those memories, they were great. Like, the original Oddworld had like tons and tons of character, and it was really fun, and it was a weird universe with aliens, and it was a fantastic platformer. Like, it was really, really good. And so when I heard about the New and Tasty being made, because basically they haven't just done, this is what I like about it most of all. It's not just that it's Oddworld again and I get to play Oddworld again, and I love Oddworld and I love Abe and it's just hilarious and fun to play. But what they've done is they haven't just kind of done a HD remaster where they just whacked some high texture skin textures on there. What they've actually done is they've rebuilt the game completely. So you have a new engine, new graphics. They have brought in the voice actors and they have redone cutscenes. They've put new cutscenes in there. Like everything's just it's like a brand new game.
Yeah,
and I love it. I absolutely love it.
It feels like a brand new version of games I used to play, which I think is a very good thing you could say about the game. Is that it feels like a game from 1997, but it doesn't feel like the when you go back and play those games, sometimes they don't feel as good as you remember them. Some of them, the controls are just terrible. Everything's really floaty and shitty. But this feels like an updated version of that. This feels like a modern platformer in the shoes of a 1997
Yeah, I mean,
game.
I don't think that the game's aged at all. I don't think it shows its age in any way. Even in the core mechanics, it's still, a 2D platformer it's not about, like, because Oddworld was never about running and jumping and getting from point A to B as fast as you could. It was about stealth and trying to avoid detection, and it was careful planning about how to solve problems. So I love it. I mean, I can't. I would recommend the original Oddworld, never mind the new one. So it's great. I mean, it really is great. I mean, the work that they've put in is fantastic. I love the fact that what impressed me the most, like I say, is the fact that they didn't do the cheap, easy way of bringing out an old game and just doing the bare minimum of just putting some high-res textures on there. They've literally put the effort in and made the game new once more.
Yeah, I think this is a great game for $20. This game has a ton of fun in it. It has a great world that they have designed. I do not have nostalgia for Oddworld. I did not play that when I was younger, but I think they've created a great world, a fun world. It feels like a world that wouldn't be created today. I feel like we don't get fun, quirky worlds like this anymore, especially from big games, but it's just so weird and unique and crazy, and I just love it. It brings joy to me when I see the cutscenes and when I hear the voice acting and things like that. It's just like happiness encapsulated in a little bubble. Yeah. It's great. It brings me back to those days playing old platformers that had these crazy stories and these weird characters and all that fun stuff. It's great. I think they've done a great job here.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you don't like platformers, I think you need to give Oddworld a try, because Oddworld's just packed full of character and charm, and you never really get bored. You get frustrated sometimes at like bits that you can't quite work out how to do, but
yeah,
it is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of real entertainment value there. And for $20, you can't go wrong.
If I was going to say anything negative about the game, I think that they do have a problem with their difficulty curve. It just spikes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you'll hit a puzzle and be like, what the hell is going on? How am I supposed to do this? And then you won't die for another hour, and then you'll hit another one, and it's like, what the hell? Why? Why is this here? They have a problem ramping up the difficulty. It just seems like they throw in difficult like puzzles once in a while just for the hell of it. So they could have done better there. And I think that it's a little nitpicky here, but if you have your controller plugged in, they don't change the tutorials to controller. At least it did for me. Maybe
it did for me.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
See, I had some controller issues with this game. I think, again, because I have a dictation pedal plugged into my computer, I had to disable that, go into the actual device manager, and turn that off. But I think that did cause a couple problems with the game. Again, nitpicky. I'm a corner case of people who have a dictation pedal plugged into my computer, so take that for what you will. But I'm always going to hold a grudge against games that don't either have some kind of way to choose in-game what input you're using or whatever you're using for the game. It's just annoying. So come on. We're in 2015 right now, and you can't figure out what I'm trying to use to control your video game. What the hell?
Blaming everyone else for your dictation pedal.
Yes, yep, I will blame everyone else for my problems. It's never my fault. It's always everyone else's fault.
It is.
So, yeah, I mean, Abe's Odyssey, it's Oddworld, actually. It's new and tasty, not Abe's Odyssey. Abe's Odyssey's old. I think you can still get the old one, actually, on Steam if you want to see where this game is coming from. You can check that out. I think it was like $5 when I looked. So I think we both agree this is a great game. Check it out, right?
Yep, definitely.
If this was basically the one game I played this week, and I'd say I'm definitely satisfied with it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm always satisfied by Oddworld. It's great.
Yeah, well, that's good. Good to hear. I don't think we've had it. Oh, maybe we had Darkest Dungeon, but it's nice when we have a universally accepted good game on this show. Yeah. It's good when games do well. I like that. So let's finish up the show, I guess, if we got nothing else to say on Oddworld there. All right, this might be a shorter one, but, sometimes that happens. It's easier to be short on games we like than games we hate.
Right.
We can pile on to games we hate for a long time. So if you'd like to contact the show, You can get us at 20 or less podcast, or you can email 20orlesspodcast@gmail.com. You can reach me personally at GTeeg, that's GTEEG on Twitter, or you can email GaddockTeeg at gaddockgaming.com. And where can we reach you, Cosmic?
You can find me on Twitter at CosmicEngine99, and you can go to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/thecosmicengine.
And what do you got? You got anything coming out this week on YouTube that we should be looking out for?
Videos.
The early access examination?
Videos.
Videos. All right.
Coming out. Some people watch them, other people don't.
Well, if you don't, what the hell are you doing? Go watch his videos. And also, you should subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever to the podcast. You should subscribe to Cosmic Engine so you can get his videos as well as the VOD of each of these episodes. And then go ahead and leave us a review, comment, all that good stuff. So, and with that, we will be done. So, thanks for watching, guys.